Headaches. Medically known as cephalalgia, headaches have a multitude of causes, such as sleep deprivation, dehydration, stress, eye strain, sinus pain, and muscle tension. Where there is a disorder or pain somewhere in the body, nociceptors, which are pain-sensitive receptors at the ends of nerve fibers, are activated. The nociceptors send a signal to the brain, which the brain interprets as pain. A headache results. The area of the head where the pain is felt depends on the location of the activated nociceptors. When the brain is alerted to pain, it also produces a number of chemicals, including serotonin, that act to reduce pain. However, the release of these chemicals can cause a swelling of blood vessels in the brain, making the blood vessels tender. The swollen vessels then irritate the nerve fibers that surround them in the head. These nerve fibers send messages to the trigeminal system, which is an area of the brain dealing with pain in the face and head. This can cause the headache to worsen. Medication to alleviate the effects of a headache works best if taken early. Once the pathways for the pain signals transmitted by the nerves are fully activated, it is more difficult to prevent the signals and thus reduce the headache. How do gun silencers work? A silencer, also known as a suppressor, is a device that is attached to the end of a gun barrel to reduce the amount of noise that is generated when the gun is fired. When the trigger of a loaded gun is pulled, gunpowder is ignited, which creates high-pressure hot gas. This expanding gas forces the bullet down the barrel of the gun, resulting in a loud noise as the bullet exits. The silencer is usually a cylindrical piece of metal that is screwed on to the end of the barrel, although it can be attached to the gun as a permanent fixture. It is composed of a group of baffles inside an expansion chamber. The baffles are hollow plates that divert the flow of the gas within the expansion chamber, which is larger in diameter than the barrel of the gun. This allows the gas to cool and reduce in energy. As the gas leaves the expansion chamber, its pressure and speed are less. This greatly reduces the sound when the bullet and gas are released. In this way, the silencer has a similar effect as the muffler of a car. Silencers are most effective when attached to small caliber weapons, especially when subsonic bullets are used. These are bullets that make less noise as they travel slower than the speed of sound. Some silencers use small quantities of oil or water to cool the gas and reduce its pressure. These are known as wet suppressors. The term silencer is actually a misnomer, as a silencer only decreases the noise created. It doesn't eliminate it. Silencers are often depicted incorrectly in movies and on television shows. In these fictional portrayals, virtually no sound is heard when a gun with a silencer is fired. The commercial silencer was invented by Hiram Maxim and first sold in 1902 in the United States. The legality of the silencer varies widely in different parts of the world. What is the origin of the Scottish kilt? One of the most widely recognized traditional garments for men, the kilt is associated with the Scottish Highlands. The word derives from hilt, a Norse word meaning pleated. The hilt was a similar item of apparel worn by Viking settlers. The Great Kilt dates back to at least 1600 in Scotland, when it was worn by military troops. It was a large garment, about 5 yards long, worn by draping it across the shoulder and over the body. The lower portion was gathered in pleats and secured with a belt. It provided ideal protection from the cold and the elements. The origin of the smaller and more convenient modern kilt has been the topic of heated debate. Many say that it was invented in 1720 by Thomas Rawlinson, who was English. He owned a charcoal production plant in Scotland and had the great kilt tailored to make it more practical for working men. However, it is now known that the modern kilt was worn before Rawlinson, and one, which resides at the Scottish Tartan Society, has been dated to 1692. By the mid-1700s, the modern kilt had become popular throughout the Highlands and parts of the Lowlands. When parts of the Scottish military were deployed abroad, the different regiments were assigned different tartans as a means of identification, although some say the tartan was used to distinguish different clans of people in Scotland. In 1746, the English government controlled Scotland. Wary of a Highland uprising, the English government prohibited Highlanders from possessing arms. The Dress Act was also enacted.